What is up, you guys? This is All Day Any Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you another Assassin's Creed Odyssey video. And with this video, I'm going to be giving you an updated build video for the Warrior, or my strongest Warrior build. And it's basically the same thing as the Hunter one, where it's going to be focused strictly on, everything is pretty much the same. The abilities, the gear. Some of the gear is different because I ended up getting new gear. And the, the mastery points is going to be something I'm going to look over as well. So first things first is the inventory. So with the gear, I have all epic gear on, but obviously it's going to be useful to wear some other, like some things like maybe the Amazonian set is going to be pretty useful because you get 5% damage dealt restored as health rather than 2%. Or you can end up using the Aspasia's, or not Aspasia, my bad. You can use the Demigod set because it gives you 30% damage with all abilities rather than just some ability, or rather than 15% or 10%. It used to be 10%, but now it's 30% damage with all abilities. You can use the I keep saying the name of the headset. You can use the Greek set, the Greek hero set, because it gives you 30% all resistance. Or the Agamemnon because it gives you 100% burning rate, which is really good. Or even you can use the Arena Fighter set because you get 50% health restored with overpower abilities, which is really useful. Or the Immortal set, but the Immortal set for some people are not even working that well because of the fact that I don't know if it just doesn't activate. Sometimes it's activated a lot for me, but I've heard from a lot of people it doesn't activate. Or you can also use the Spartan War Hero set. So any of these sets work because of the fact that the legendary perks on them were buffed a lot. 50% damage with warrior abilities is a lot. But anyways, with the gear that I have, all of my epic gear pretty much is min-maxed except for my boots. But we're going to go ahead and go straight into it. With the headpiece I have is 18% warrior damage, 14% crit chance while full health, 28% chance to ignore half damage, 25% crit damage. And then the gloves I have is 18% warrior damage, 7% crit chance, 60% crit damage while full health, 25% crit damage. The legs or the waist is 18% warrior damage, 60% crit damage while full health, 7% crit chance, 5% crit chance, and 25% crit damage while at full health. So that perk right there, that engrave, only comes from the Nemean Lion set. So if you don't have it, then you can always go with the 20% chance to ignore full health or full damage. You can go with that. Or you can go with crit damage or something else really, but you won't be able to get any of the legendary engraves if you don't have the Helix bot ones. So that would be the Nemean Line set and I believe the Chronos set. And then the light of my torso, I have warrior damage. Damage is increased by 6%. All damage is increased by 6% and 14% more health. And then 2% damage dealt restored as health. So just like from the Amazonian set, but the Amazonian set is 5% if you got the full legendary set. With this, it only gives you 2%. And then for the legs, I have 18% assassin damage, 14% crit chance while full health, and 60% crit damage while full health. Now I wanted to get the first perk to be warrior damage, so I can do more warrior damage, obviously, but it didn't come with it. But it's the two perks after that, the two engraves after that, was so perfect I couldn't replace it, so I ended up just putting 10% warrior damage. Otherwise, I would have put something like the burning rate ticks by 50%, which comes from the Agamemnon set. And then for my bow, I'm using is 18% warrior damage, 6% all damage, 7% crit chance, 30% damage while full health. You can only get that engraved from the Nemean Lion Claw, which is the weapon from the Helix store, or you can get it from the Focus vendor. But if you don't have it, you can always put something like, I don't think you can get crit damage on it, but you can get armor penetration or damage to the bosses or elites, which are really good. And then for the daggers, well, I prefer daggers. You don't have to use daggers. You can use any weapon you prefer. But for me, it is the daggers. That's my main go-to. But it has the Dagger of Cronus is warrior damage, 21% damage with daggers, 40% damage when attacking from behind, and 25% cooldown duration for all abilities. And then for the weapon, I'm using Minotaur's, or the other weapon is the Minotaur's Labrys. You get 19% warrior damage, 35% crit damage, minus 1 adrenaline cost for overpower abilities, and then 25% warrior damage, but you do lose 15% ranged resistance. but I mean that 25% warrior damage is really nice though. And the thing that's really nice with the Minotaur's Labrys, or just the heavy weapon in general, with this specific build, with the high amount of crit chance, crit damage that I have, you can pretty much just do 2 or 3 light attacks with this weapon and you'll pretty much kill the enemy, or heavy enemies. And now for the stats, I have is crit chance at 38%, 196% crit damage. That's just the base. And then with the full health added, it's at 78% crit chance while full health and 437% crit damage while full health, which is really, really, really good. It's a lot. Now, most people, I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people would say this build wouldn't work that well if you're getting hit constantly, which is why you have to practice on not getting hit. You have to dodge, parry, and all that. But if you were to, let's say you were to technically spec straight up into crit chance and crit damage, the highest you could probably get to is about the same as what I'm at right now with the crit chance while full health. That's if you put all your points into crit chance and crit damage on the mastery points as well. You can get about 70% crit damage or crit chance, and then about 450% crit damage with all your gear having crit chance, crit damage as well, and your gear, your weapons. But with the fact that the full health one, it gives you a bigger bonus. It gives you a bigger crit chance and bigger crit damage compared to the regular one. That's why I went with this, so you get more of it. But I have no adrenaline per hit or no adrenaline per crit, which is a little unfortunate because it would be nice to build those up. And 21% crit damage, 229% warrior damage. This would be a little higher, probably around 250% if I could replace the assassin damage with it. Now we're going to go ahead and go over the abilities. So I ended up getting all the passives. So the Archery Master, Sixth Sense, Weapons Master, Gear Master, Stealth Master, and Shadow Master. Or is it called Shadow? Yeah, Shadow Assassin, all maxed out. So I'm not going to really be going around assassinating anyone or using my bow as much. Only time I use my bow is if I really need to, like if the enemies are really close to death, but I'm also really close to death, I could just back up, pull my arrow out, hit them in the head, and then I'll get the kill. And then with the Shadow Assassin, so with the Shadow Assassin, I don't use it for the assassination or the knockout. I use it because it gives you 50% crit damage, and you can also still assassinate enemies with this particular build because of the amount of crit chance and crit damage you'll have. And then Stealth Master is just good when you're out of combat. As soon as you hit your enemy once, whatever, when you're out of combat, you'll do a lot more damage. It doesn't tell you how much damage, but you do more damage. And then for the abilities, I would highly recommend every single class using slow time to increase your survivability as well as damage output in a sense, because with that and the combo of Battlecry of Ares, it increases the duration of Battlecry of Ares because the time is slowed. I also maxed out the overpower attacks and flaming attacks as well as fire mastery, shield breaker, ring of chaos, second wind, and bull rush. So the reason why I went with Bull Rush instead of Sparta Kick is because it just does a lot more damage than Sparta Kick. Sparta Kick doesn't really do much. It's just a fun ability to use, but it's not really that viable, especially if you're going to be doing mythical bosses, because that's what these builds are basically for, is to get us prepared for the DLC as well as the replayable mythical bosses. Or not replayable, but the mythical bosses when we're able to fight them on normal and hard mode. Now, for my mastery points, I ended up putting 5 out of 20 on crit chance, 5 out of 20 on crit damage, and I believe that's it in the hunter tree. 10 out of 20 on warrior damage, and then the damage dealt restored as health, 4 out of 20. And then for my assassin tree, I put 10 out of 20 on crit chance while full health, 10 out of 20 crit damage while full health, 10 out of 20 damage while full health. And I believe that is it, yes. So once you get all those, I would recommend, and then once you get more perk points or more ability points, I would recommend cooldown duration for all abilities. This is probably a must-have for every different builds whenever you have extra ability points. And then damage on elites and bosses, just because you're doing more damage on those specific enemies. Health gained per adrenaline spent. I mean, this would only be useful if you're gaining adrenaline quick. So if you can put points into adrenaline on perfectly timed dodge, or adrenaline per hit and adrenaline per crit, then I would start putting points into health gained per adrenaline spent, because you're going to be using your adrenaline a lot. But for now, I wouldn't worry about getting that unless you're getting a lot of adrenaline pretty quick. And then for the warrior damage, obviously if you're using heavy bladed or heavy blunt attacks, weapons or swords or daggers or whatever, or spears or staffs, then you're going to want to put points into those specific weapon types so you do more damage with those. And then for the others, I would put more points into health, armor, melee resistance, and then armor penetration as well. And then for as well as the damage per enemy engaged, because with this it allows you to do more damage based off how many more enemies there are around you. So if there's up to 5 enemies, you'll do 2.5% more damage to everyone around you. If it's just one person, then it's 0.5%. And then for the hunter damage or the hunter tree, what I would also end up getting here is, I believe there's something else that I wanted to get. I know for a fact I would go with the ranged resistance as well later on, just to kind of counterbalance the ranged resistance that you lose, the 15% ranged resistance that you lose. You can pretty much counterbalance that. It'll make it a little less than what it takes in a sense. But yeah, that's pretty much it actually with the hunter tree. These are the main two that you would have to go with. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this video. If it helps you out, I'm going to leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section as well. And if you have any other build suggestions or build ideas that you would like me to go over, I would definitely do it. I would be glad to do it, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it with this video. If this is all day, any day one on the PS4, have a good day, good night, and enjoy the rest of the clip.
Who's a warrior like you on our side? Interested in turning the tides of war in our favor?
I'll join you.
Good. We're glad to have your sword.